glass, coffee, tea, and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, take our leave and go. At a fair in the sun of town, her hair was blonde and her dress was brown. She made a whaler man come around. Got the Ranger locked into 4 low, and that means I'm getting into a pretty rough place out here, headed for Duncan Bay to launch the P-Row. And man, I've been down a rough gravel road and I'm crawling down a little Jeep trail now. Got this one little washed out section of the trail that I must conquer before reaching the water. And it's not too bad, but it's definitely rough enough and eroded enough that you could potentially get some body damage on some spots here. It probably won't look like anything much at all on video, but there is one kind of iffy spot up here. I'm just kind of mentally reviewing my path here, or my line, I think it is, that those Jeep people say. It's washed out pretty bad down here, but at least it's not muddy, so I'm not real worried about getting stuck. Just worried about falling down in a hole and potentially getting some body damage. You can't tell, but this is pretty low right here. Gonna have to drop down right here and then crawl up to that banked section. I began my afternoon adventure paddling a short distance out the cove, first looking right to catch a glimpse of the mouth of the bay in Kentucky Lake. The air was still and the water desolate of other boaters. I turned east, bound for the narrow creek that feeds Duncan Bay, about 2 miles away. The goal was to paddle my P-Row as far as she could go up Duncan Creek until she hit the shallows. Then I would continue my expedition on foot, wading upstream. The creek runs through an otherwise inaccessible wildlife refuge. From satellite images, it looks pretty thick back there. Sounds like my kind of creek. Alone on the water with nothing in sight but wooded shoreline, I caught wind of the crisp scent of pines on the ridge above. This place was perfect. I reveled in the solitude, but reminded myself to be extra cautious. A tiny P-Row and her skipper could disappear on a big remote bay like this, given the perfect storm of bad decisions and bad luck. I cherish my time alone in nature, but clearly there are advantages to paddling with companions. It's a whole lot safer, and good companions will let you know when your main sheet is clumsily dragging in the water. This is definitely one of the more remote bays on Kentucky Lake, inland between the lakes. The spot where I launched is really the only road access anywhere on the bay, on either side of the bay, and you definitely need four-wheel drive to access that launch site. I have a feeling not a lot of people have launched canoes and kayaks on this bay. Managed to catch a whisper of wind, and I'm getting pretty close to the back of the creek and the narrow part of the creek that feeds this bay, so I'm just kind of lazily drifting along. Just got into the mouth of Duncan Creek, and the creek channel straight ahead is pretty broad and it looks like it goes pretty far, but off to the right is some kind of little beaver bog or something like that, a little beaver lake maybe. I'm gonna check out the beaver lake first. Just saw a couple of goldfinches on the beaver lake, and this little lake or pond or whatever you want to call it is kind of interesting. I'm guessing it was formed by beaver activity. I don't really know, and I don't really see any beaver sign at the moment, but I'll keep an eye out as I continue up the creek. What I notice is that the bottom is that super soft, sticky mud that you would just sink into, and if you just barely touch the bottom with a paddle, bubbles start emanating up to the surface, which is a little eerie actually. This side creek could be something worth checking out later on the way back maybe. Probably doesn't go very far, but you never know. I'm getting higher up the creek and there's all these bubbles that keep coming up from the bottom. The bottom is actually rock here. I've never seen bubbles coming out of rock. You'll see that with a mud bottom a lot, but Interesting, either some kind of gas coming up or some animal, something alive under the rocks. Well, the Piro has once again bottomed out, and I have found the shallow part of the creek. That place I always seek. It's always a good place to be. The water is clear and cold and flowing. The trees are green and the birds are singing. I've probably been in 100 creeks like this, but for me, it never gets old. It's just an experience that you have to try, and I promise you will like it. It's really just a matter of finding the right creek for creek walking in your area. And what's kind of cool to me in a way is that you can't necessarily just pull up a list of suitable creeks on Google. Sure, you can probably pull up a list of creeks in your locality, and you can definitely look at maps and Google satellite view, and that will help you in your quest to find the right and most desirable creek walking locations. But to me, it's kind of cool that you can't that information isn't instantly accessible as we're so used to with many things in the modern era. But with creek walking, you've got to do your own research and your own scouting. It's the only way to know for sure what a creek is like. Well, that about does it for Duncan Creek. Really beautiful area out here, very remote. It was just quiet and peaceful. I probably walked at least a mile up the creek, actually recording a creek talk. And as I said in the video, you can get carried away creek walking, and before you know it, you've gone a lot farther than you expected to. But I've got some clouds rolling in over the mouth of the creek here, and it's going to be getting dark soon. Got about 2 miles to paddle back to the truck, and then I have to get out of the launch area, crawl back up the washed out trail, hopefully without sliding off my line and getting body damage. So wish me luck.
Little black train is coming, makes your business right. Little black train is coming, maybe here tonight. Once she gets on rolling, ain't no way to slow. Ain't no time for packing, gotta get on board and go. She's steaming past the platform, burning up the tracks. Little black train is coming, ain't no turning back.
If you're intrigued by my 12-foot wooden P-row featured in this video, there's good news. You can build one of your own. Check out the plans linked in the description below. Also check out the build video. The plans are only $10 and she can be built for under $200. Sail plan and rigging diagram are included in the plans. Thank you for your support and thank you very much for watching.